Hey good people, Batavia here. I want to update y'all on some of the things that are growing in the space behind me. It's my original garden space. We have plenty planted. Today we're going to take a look at the summer squash, plenty of peppers, onions. There's some carrots in here, some herbs, some sweet potatoes. So we're going to cover off on that today. We also have 10 tomato plants that are growing in the same space. They're pretty sickly, so I have a video specifically about them that I'll share next week. And we'll talk then about kind of how we got here, what I plan on doing for the rest of the season, as well as how we want to try to avoid this going into next year's growing season. So as we dig in today, a big thank you to those who like, watch, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed already, consider it below. Super excited about Armenian cucumbers. So we have a few plants that are situated along this A-frame, which I picked up from a home improvement store some years back, and I've used it in different ways. Here's one look at what the fruit looks like. This is one that appears closer to being ripe as far as size goes. We have sweet potatoes. So I think I did maybe 3 slips back in June. I planted those. I came back later in the month and there had been some digging here. So I put this wire across the bed. So cut it to size and laid it across the bed. And you can see it's large enough for the vines to grow out of it. Let's get inside of the cage, baby. These are vines from my sweet potatoes that are basically grown through the wire of the cage. We have some onions that are ready to harvest. Yes, you see they flopped over. These are smaller onions, and I'm pretty pleased with the size of the bulbs. Although I would love the huge slicers, I've not been able to produce those. We have 2 pepper plants back here. I don't remember this variety. The plant is a bit tattered, but it's still putting on fruit. This is a poblano, and it's growing nicely. We have some really young buds here, and then we have a couple of peppers on the plant. It's pretty late in summer when you think about kind of how long we've had to grow. Today is August the 6th. I transplanted them in where they were started from seed, and they went into the garden like May 25th. So only a few months of growing, actually 2.5. And this is pretty normal for my planting schedule and then the time that the fruit start to produce. I planted this out last fall. It overwintered, came back, produced some oregano, and now it's flowering. I have a ground cherry here that is being eaten by something, and I've noticed this in some of the weeds that I haven't pulled, same kind of holes in the leaves, but looks like it's still going to produce some fruit. Some of my fall starts, they got a little bit leggy, so I tried to put them on a crate so they wouldn't have to fight for the sun. They do need to be watered. Another oregano plant. Jalapeno plants. We had got some rain and some wind, and so I made a makeshift support system here. So we have more beets that we sowed, more jalapeno pepper plants here. I do want to, before I forget and I get too far along, I want to show on screen this cage. It's kind of like, I think it's 18 inches, and I really love it for peppers. And I bought a few some years back, hadn't seen them in the stores for years, and then came across them this summer. I got them from Home Depot, and I'll put on screen like what the tag name is. If you're interested, you may also be able to order them online. And now we're into the larger bed. This is the 12-foot bed. Pepper plants here, sweet peppers, maybe giant Marconi, not sure, but it's doing wonderful. I actually should get in. I have a little bitty support system here, but based on the fruit size, I need to put something a bit stronger here. I was lucky enough to pass a neighbor some doors down, and they were cleaning out their garage, and they had some of the shorter cages like this, which again, I think the shorter ones are perfect for peppers and things. So I'm super excited about that. They let me take them off their hands for nothing but a smile and a thank you. So we're going to use those. We have some carrots that we sowed back in the early part of June, maybe late May. They're doing really well. I've been working on this soil as far as loosening it up to be able to do things like root crops. There is a ground cherry here, which you can see is putting on some fruit. maybe one or two that have dropped. And we have some volunteer nasturtiums. I started nasturtiums from seed, but never got to plant them out. Sometimes that happens. I have banana pepper here. And I'd like to let some of these go to orange or red. You can see I just have a little bitty container here, so it's not laying in the soil as it ripens. This is either a giant Marconi or this is the long Aldi pepper, and I name it that. It's a sweet pepper. I saved seeds for an Aldi package of peppers that I purchased at a grocery store here, and started them from seed, and they're doing well. There's some in containers as well. Chamomile, that is probably going to self-seed as those seeds dry up and drop. Purslane, I may be mispronouncing it, but I've been reading on this. A good garden friend and her mom a few years back talked to me about how edible and nutritional purslane is, and warned against there is kind of a look-alike crop that does have some toxins in it that isn't good to eat. But I've actually researched this a bit, and I'm certain that this is the edible kind. Some volunteer tomatoes, not sure of their variety, but they are really putting on fruit, and at this point, based on what's happening with my tomatoes, I am letting them go. I generally like to let volunteers go. Alright, so this is another pepper plant. This looks like a jalapeno. Since we have some extra cages now, we're going to get in and make sure we put some protection. These are smaller as we get down because I'm starting to get like right behind the porch, my back porch, and it gets a bit shady there. Basil that I've let get away from me. Strawberries that were newly planted this year. More strawberries, carrots. This is a squash. It's an early scallop squash. One of the best tasting squashes that I've had, but I've struggled growing it over the last couple of years. So I'm really hopeful that this one starts to take off and put on fruit. This is a yellow squash. And then I have a zucchini plant. Zucchini plants have been a struggle this last few years as well with the squash vine borer. I've gotten a couple of zucchini off of this plant, so I'm uber excited about that. And I've done some heavy pruning because I felt like between the cage and the big leaves, I was having some issues with the pollinators finding the actual flowers. So it seems, maybe it's in my mind, it seems to have improved. You can see there. We have some squash, nice size. Kind of odd as it gets a little bit larger up here, but that's okay. And then kind of a makeshift support system here. And then here's some yellow squash, which is absolutely ready to harvest. And again, my little setup to protect it from the creepy crawlers here. Okie doke, so thanks for spending some time with me. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them below. And I'll see you all on the next one.